Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be breaking down the Draftkings 9-game slate for Monday night. We do not have any weather concerns that we have to deal with at this moment, which is fantastic. But obviously, make sure you're paying attention to the weather throughout the day with anything that might pop up. Also, make sure you're paying attention to COVID-related news, not just a whole game cancellation due to COVID, but also just individual players that might be being pulled out of the lineup as precautionary reasons. So we can just dive right into the pitchers here. And up at the top, we have Corbin Burns. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Burns is having a historic start to this season. He is on another level at the moment. He is just, words can't even describe how good he has been. He's got 30 plus DK points in all 4 of his starts. He hasn't allowed a single walk. His strikeout rate is 47.1%. You heard that right. I had to double and triple check this. 47.1%. Now, last year, he was a 36% strikeout rate. Really, we're looking in DFS, we're looking for like the magical 30% strikeout rate. So 47 is just insane what he has been doing. It's not sustainable, but here he is. He's going to go up against Miami. They're not a terrible team, but they're not a great team either. They've really struggled. They average less than 3 runs over the past week. So I'm just going to be jamming in Burns into all my cash lines, and you should be as well. Don't think twice about it. Under him, you got Urias for the Dodgers. He's not the K pitcher that Burns is or a lot of the other pitchers are on this slate, but he does have great control at limiting walks. He had 11 strikeouts last game against Seattle, but that's more of an outlier for him. So now he's going up against Cincinnati, who really struggled to do anything against St. Louis over the weekend. But still, if I'm paying 10-4 for Burns and I'm not really locked into Urias, he doesn't really give me that K upside, I'm going to find some other options here. Obviously, you can go target him in GPP, but for me, I'll pass. Next, you got Male for Cincinnati going against the Dodgers. He's also had a phenomenal strikeout start to the season. His K rate right now is at 38.8%. Now, last year, he was right at that coveted 30% mark that I was talking about earlier. But prior to that, in his career, he was in like the low 20s. So do you believe his strong start with how good he has been? Now he's going on the road against the Dodgers. I'm a little hesitant. So I'm not going to be going with him in cash, but I think for GPP, he's more than a viable play. Wheeler, he's a workhorse. He'll go 100 plus pitches in his starts, and that's really kind of what you're paying for. It's just kind of like a lot of innings pitched and hoping to just accrue some outs there. Strikeout rate is fractionally up this season. He's still like a low to mid 20s strikeout pitcher. Nothing really too exciting. So there's many other better point per dollar pitchers on the slate. And that kind of leads us right into Trevor Rogers here for Miami. He is a 35% strikeout pitcher so far this season. Last season, he was over 30% as well. That's just who he is. He's a strikeout pitcher. Now he's going against Milwaukee, and Milwaukee has overtaken Texas, and they are now the #1 team in K percentage on the bad side for their bats. So that's good news for Rogers. He's going up against the #1 strikeout team in baseball. He's $600 cheaper than Wheeler. So at 8.4, I mean, you can pair him with Burns at 10.4 and have some decent salary left. If you plug in Burns and you plug in Rogers, you're going to be looking at around 3.9K for your bats. Not great, but you could also have a much tougher situation. Urquidy for Houston, kind of been unlucky so far this season. I think I saw like his BABIP was like 340 or 330, somewhere around there. To put it in perspective, the league average is around 280. So the top team, or at least the average for this season, is 280. Now he's got a BABIP against of nearly 340. So he's had a bit of unlucky. I don't know how you want to put it. He's been unlucky this season. So when building lines for especially cash, you don't really want to just look at him. You want to look at the surrounding pitchers as well. Same with GPP. Obviously, Urquidy, he's 200 less for Rogers. So do I want to go with a guy who, yeah, well, he has been unlucky. He's just not as good of a K pitcher or as strong of a pitcher as Rogers. I'll go with Rogers. And if you look for below Urquidy, you got Morton at 8,000. Morton, he's a better strikeout pitcher than Urquidy is. You know, he's a solid pitcher. He's facing the Cubs bats, who, while they have scored more runs recently, you know, they're still striking out a bunch. So I think he's a better play than Urquidy. So yeah, so I just kind of covered both of those guys right there. DeSclafani for San Francisco facing Colorado. Low K rate, allows some contact. His ERA numbers are really low, but that's because he's stranded 91% of the batters that have reached base against him this season. Now in the Kershaw years, Kershaw was hovering around 80. So to be at 91%, especially for a guy like him, no, I'll pass. Manaea, I'm just kind of working down here. Manaea for Oakland going against Tampa Bay. Manaea is just like your average pitcher. He's not great and elite at anything. He's also not bad at anything. Tampa Bay does strike out a lot, but they also put up a lot of runs at the same time. So not really too interested in. So now we reached kind of like the most intriguing part of the slate, in my opinion. Ohtani. Now pitcher Ohtani here. He's got a great strikeout rate. And he's facing Texas, who I just mentioned earlier. Going into this weekend, they were the #1 strikeout team in the league. I think they're #2 right now. So you have a high strikeout pitcher going against this high strikeout team. Match made in heaven. However, Ohtani has some serious control issues. Wild pitches are very frequent with him. Walks extremely frequent with him. He's only had 2 starts this season, but he's got 11 walks in those. And one of those starts he faced Texas, he had 7 strikeouts in 4 innings, but he walked 6 guys. So he was done in the 4th inning because his pitch count was so high. And that walk issue happened last year. He only had 1 start last year, but it happened in the spring as well. He's just got command issues. But if he can kind of get those in check, if you want to think he can get them in check here on Monday night against Texas, he's probably a no-brainer to plug in. But I think he's GPP at this point, at least for me. I'd rather take Rogers, who's 700 more than Ohtani, but Ohtani's close. He's close. Just those walks scare me. Everybody else, pitcher, not really too interested in. You can maybe make a case for Wainwright, but not really. I'm not really too interested in. So let's kind of turn to the bats. I'll recap all this right at the end of the video. But let's look at the bats and 3 teams that I'm interested in here. First team is Oakland. Now, if you've been watching these videos, you know that I've been fascinated with St. Louis and their boomer bust runs per game so far. Oakland is even worse or better, depending on how you want to put it. So the crazy stat with Oakland right now is for 14 straight games, they have either 3 or fewer runs or 7 or more. Okay, they're either getting destroyed by the opposing pitcher or they're lighting them up. So 3 or fewer or 7 or more in 14 straight games. If you extend it across the entire season, every game they've played but 2 fall into that category. So now they're facing Rich Hill, who is struggling mightily this season. He's only had a couple starts, I think 3 starts here, but he can't seem to strike anybody out. He's allowed 4 earned runs in each of his starts, and 3 of those starts, he only went 4 or fewer innings. But he's got 4 starts, sorry. But yeah, he's not going deep into games because he's allowing so many runs. He's allowing contact. He's getting hit. And he's let up a long ball so far this season. So Oakland, they're fairly expensive, but not terrible. Canha, Laureano, Chapman, I don't know what's going on with Chapman this season. He can't hit the broadside of a barn right now, but he's going to turn it around. I think he's only hitting like 158 or something like that. So I'm not too concerned. This Oakland offense, they can produce. They can put up a lot of runs. So Oakland, definitely going to be at the top of my radar here for the bats. Other team is going to be Atlanta. Now Atlanta's going against Davies, who they faced earlier this season, and they chased him out of the game. I think it was like in the 4th inning. Now Davies, he's had 4 starts. In 2 of those starts, he's had negative DK points. And in another start, he only had 4 points. So he is not doing well at all. And even after a rough start to the season for the Atlanta Bats, they've really turned it around. They're a top 10 offense, run producing offense at the moment. So they're looking great, and their DraftKings prices really reflect that. You have some insane pricing on Atlanta. 6.2 for Acuna, 6K for Freeman, 5.3, 5.2, 4.6. So they are expensive. They do have some cheaper options. If you go down, like Swanson is 3.9, Heredia, Riley at 3.2. So they're super expensive. So if you're gonna like large stack Atlanta, you can probably say goodbye to getting Burns into your lineup. But yeah, other than that, I think Atlanta, you can get 2, 3 other guys. I think that'd be fantastic, especially in cash games. So Oakland, Atlanta, and the third team, more of a GPP, but some definite salary savings for you here is Boston. They're going against Yeivi Garcia for the Yankees. We don't really have too much to go on with Garcia. He pitched 34 innings last season. He pitched 14 in the spring, so 48 innings total. But in those 48 innings, he allowed 10 home runs, and he's got an ERA close to 5. Now, like I said, Baltimore is cheap, so you're going to be able to stack them and get a guy like Burns and maybe even some of the bats that I mentioned earlier. So I like Baltimore here just kind of as a cheaper option. I'm not going to say they're a great cash option, but there's definitely maybe like some one-offs in there that you could do. If you want to stack them in GPP, I think they're going to be low owned. And like I said, they can get you those really stud bats with like Atlanta there. Because looking at the Baltimore bats here, you got Mancini at 4.4. Then everybody else is mid 3s and lower. Mountcastle 3.4, Mullins is 3.5. Hayes, he just had 2 home runs on Sunday. He's 2.6. Am I saying he's going to hit another home run? No. But he's cheap as well here. So Baltimore, Atlanta, and Oakland are the 3 bats that I'm going to be focusing on here. For pitcher, just to kind of recap here, Burns, lock him into your cash games. I like Rogers as well. Ohtani, I like him and his K upside going against a strong or a bad offense who strikes out a lot, but he has some serious control issues that he needs to get straightened out here. Everybody else, just GPP throws at best. A guy like Male from Cincinnati, he's got high K upside. Going against the Dodgers though. Morton, same deal. He's close to that 30% K rate. Going against the high K team in the Cubs. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Wainwright, you can make a case for, but other than that, nothing's too sticking out for the pitchers here. So as always, I hope you guys hop into our Discord here shortly. We have a bunch of free rooms to check out. The MLB room is premium, but it is fairly cheap. As always, hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment down below. We love reading your comments. We love the feedback that you guys have been giving us, both positive and negative. We appreciate it all. So good luck in your contest today, and thanks for watching.